felt I had to make this video because I'm quite angry about something that's I have pretty strong views about. It's about the issue of gun control in America, and there's almost always controversy over this, over something or another, but the latest controversy involves a player in the NFL, Kansas City, Joe Van Belcher, who shot his girlfriend recently. Basically, the controversy is that Sunday Night Football halftime commentary person, Bob Costas, has spoken on the issue and used the opportunity to speak about the need for greater gun control in America. I strongly agree with him, strongly support him, but predictably this has attracted the attention of gun nuts like Ted Nugent, who I think is a despicable person. Now Nugent's response to this was, let me get this, I'm just reading off a report here. Hey Bob Costas, we all know that obesity is a direct result of the proliferation of spoons and forks. Get a clue? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I suspect it's some sort of denunciation of gun control being necessary in America, but I'll never understand the warped mindset of the gun lobby. In the same way as I'll never understand why so many people praise dictators. To me, America's gun problem is just hard to understand. It's hard to fathom how you can have so much violence, so many gun deaths, and yet so many people can't seem to grasp that something needs to be done about this, that the status quo should just continue, that the precious Second Amendment is somehow more important than trying to prevent gun violence. And it's always the same excuses. It's always like, people die in car accidents, but we don't ban cars. The difference is, cars are designed as a mode of transport. Guns are designed to kill. So the purpose of guns is to kill. And basically the gun lobby has no answer to America's problems. All they will do is say it's going to happen anyway, that's doing nothing. And the cards. And I actually regard the NRA as a terrorist organisation. I think it's a disgusting extremist organisation who constantly promote lies about their opponents, particularly the Brady campaign and other gun control advocates. They'll say things like the Brady campaign want to take away all guns from Americans. That's simply not true. I'm really all I can think of is that I'm very grateful I don't live in the United States. There's a lot of things I like about America, but the obsession with guns and this warped. I can't understand this mentality about right to bear arms, because you really don't see this in other countries. And it's not even a case of democracy versus totalitarianism, because I'm talking about other democratic countries. You certainly don't see it in Britain. You don't even see it in other societies which use guns a lot more, such as Canada or Germany, which have higher gun usage rates than Britain. You don't even see the mentality there of the right to bear arms. It's not the same mentality. This is an American thing, and it's and they'll point out all these other countries that are more violent, like Brazil and Mexico, but that's hardly the point. Just pointing out that there's more violence in another country doesn't change the fact that the United States has a huge problem. 19,000 plus gun-related deaths per year. Many of those homicides, suicides, accidents. 19,000 plus, that's, if we're talking about a disease, that's an epidemic. And it just depresses me that People say that Bob Costas should be talking about sport, not politicising an event, but I do believe it takes public figures speaking out to make changes in American society, and I have enormous respect for him doing it. Because it does take courage in American society to speak out for gun control. Because gun control is a dirty word in America. It's like calling yourself a communist almost. It's I can't comprehend the American obsession with guns. I really can't. It just goes over my head. Coming from a country which doesn't have a big gun problem at all, where we don't see the need to own guns, where I live in a city where we do have gangs, but I know for a fact that whilst I may have problems with gangs, they're not going to shoot me. We do not have a gun problem in this country. Not a significant gun problem. I'm not saying we never have gun violence in Britain. We do. In London and Manchester and bigger cities. But we absolutely do not have this phenomenon where every month you hear of yet another spray shooting. It's just... And the most astonishing thing about all of this is that they just can't seem to grasp that with every massacre, they seem to think, oh, that's it, we'll just continue letting things stay the way they are. And there's a lot of lies by the NRA. One of them is that in areas where gun control is tougher, you have higher gun homicide rates. So, for example, they'll say New York City, Chicago, and so on have higher gun homicide rates. What they won't say is that 99% of the weapons in those cities come from illegal gun shows. Legal gun shows in states outside New York and Chicago. In other words, the gangs in New York and Chicago are getting their weapons from legal gun shows in soft gun law states and bringing them into those cities. The handgun ban in places like New York City is effective because it is hard for criminals to buy weapons in those cities. They're getting the weapons from outside. So the problem there needs to be in issues like security. It's not about the sale of guns in those cities because the tough gun control legislation is doing what it's meant to do. The problem is soft gun control in other states. You know, I don't know how many massacres it's going to take for America to wake up. How many auroras is it going to be? Well, whenever these tragedies happen, everyone, including gun lobbyists, say, oh, it's tragic, we pray for the victims, etc. But nothing changes in America. The presidential debate was a disappointment in terms of what could be done about this. Obama skipped over the issue. Well, Romney, I expected his position because he's very closely with the NRA. I would love my country to designate the NRA a foreign terrorist organisation on the grounds that they have actively promoted gun violence against Americans. And Ted Nugent, as far as I'm concerned, is a piece of shit. I'm not saying everyone who owns guns is an extremist. I do think gun lobbyists are either incredibly naive or just plain ignorant. They won't get their heads out of the sand and see that this is not a normal situation when you're having a gun homicide rate as high as it is, and to say that nothing should change, that's just madness. It's a bit like if you have a fire and the approach seems to be, oh well, let's put out this fire by holding a lighter to the fire, and it's crazy. It's just crazy. Their argument is the answer to America's gun problem is let's make guns more freely available. That's insanity. And it's proven to be insanity. And the sort of arguments they use, like, oh, if someone had been armed at this massacre, then it wouldn't have happened. Rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. Because if that's the case, if you're arguing that if every American citizen is armed, then you wouldn't have massacres, well, many American citizens are armed. That doesn't stop the huge rate of massacres. Their arguments are so flawed and just so crazy. And no one is suggesting that gun control will make the situation perfect. No one is saying that with gun control you won't have gun crime. No one's saying that. And the Brady campaign and other brave organisations are not suggesting the answer is to take away all guns. They're not even proposing to scrap the Second Amendment, although in my opinion that's an amendment that's drenched in blood. I'd like to promote a few groups while I'm here on Facebook. There's a group called Protest Easy Guns. The Brady campaign's well known, but there's a few other groups I'd like to point out. Protest Easy Guns, Washington State for Gun Control, and there's a few others. But if you strongly believe in this issue, if you believe that America needs to start taking this issue seriously, if you believe that common sense gun control needs to start be taken seriously in the United States, much more seriously than it has been, then please join those groups, support them. They need our support. Anyone who believes in gun control. Now the gun lobby are cards, a lot of them, especially the likes of Ted Nugent, who in my opinion is just a loudmouth thug. You know, it's very easy for them to hide behind their weapons and threaten anyone who disagrees with them. It takes a much braver man or woman to publicly state they support gun control in a country where gun control is a dirty words. I have enormous respect for Americans who do that. I believe they're very brave people. They might be more humble about it, but I do believe it takes courage to speak out in a country with the gun mentality that America has. And you know, not every gun owner is an extremist. Not every gun owner has the same views as the hierarchy of the NRA. And I strongly suggest they do some homework on just who they're supporting, because the NRA leadership is comprised of fanatics. Just do your homework, because it is. That's all I've really got to say on the subject. Respect to Bob Costas. I disagree that it was inappropriate, because when you have an epidemic situation as it is in the United States, I think it was entirely appropriate. It's just depressing. I just find it depressing and frustrating, and as an outsider, this video is not anti-American. I believe the United States is a great country, but the gun issue is something I would find very hard to I can't comprehend that. I can't get my head over this obsession with guns and obsession with so-called gun rights. It goes back to a constitutional amendment dating from the 18th century. You know, it's crazy. And I'm just deeply grateful to live in a country that has tough gun control. Whatever problems we have, and we do have problems, this is one issue we don't have. Thank goodness. My message to gun control advocates: stay strong. You're right. You have the moral high ground on your side. The gun lobby can threaten you. They can defame you. They can stir up propaganda against you. But please be aware that there's thousands of people all over the world that see what you're doing, are on your side, and see the gun lobby, or I should say the gun lobby leadership for what they are: a bunch of extremists led by nut jobs like Ted Nugent. Okay, I'll leave it there. I am going to censor this video, and I'll explain the reason for that. In other videos I've made about this issue, or whenever I've addressed this issue, I've actually been threatened by gun advocates, and I can't be bothered with that again. If you're a gun advocate, you have plenty of platforms to go to. I'm going to censor this video on the grounds that I'm not going to put up with threats from gun nuts. I'm not going to give them the oxygen. They can go elsewhere. There's plenty of forums for them. If they disagree with me, they don't have to watch the video. They can make a rebuttal if they want, but that's the reason, because I actually was threatened before, so it's precautionary if anything. Okay, I'll leave it there.